All right, everybody, this is Thinking Outside the Pod. I am Brandon Fisher Foster. I don't know what the hell everybody's calling me today. But yeah, I'm going to be leading this one today because I was off last week and decided to come back and bring back some of my nerd knowledge and stuff.
Yeah.
See, today I am joined by...
Jimmy.
Always?
Me. That's always me. Yeah, so you were out doing something I think is pretty cool, so we'll definitely talk about that later on in the episode.
Or we'll start. I mean, I don't know.
But yeah,
this is pretty much just going to be us just talking about nerd stuff. I mean, Patrick's out on his birthday week off, whatever. He's being lazy, I guess.
Happy birthday, Patrick.
Yes, happy birthday, Patrick.
He's doing whatever he wants to do.
Get your ass back to work so we don't have to work as much.
Exactly.
But yeah, like I just said, last week I was out at QuakeCon, which is up in Dallas, and that happens about every year, either towards the end of July or like the first week of August. Mm-hmm. And essentially what it is, it's a computer video game convention. Mm-hmm. It's done by id Software, Doom, Quake, that kind of stuff.
Very nice.
And pretty much it's a little bit, they're starting to try to make it more of an expo than it used to be. Mm-hmm. And like the big draw used to be the LAN party, which it's starting to be, they're making it more organized, but with organization comes, problems, because when you have to literally be on their website to register like 5 minutes after it opens, or you're not going to get a seat. I mean, it was way smoother this year than it was in last year. I mean, we didn't have to sit there and wait in line for hours and hours. Mm-hmm. But
and you bring all your computers. You bring your computer.
Yeah, it's bring your own computer, BYOC. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much a big giant LAN party with like 3,000 computers. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's big giant dark freezing room. It's a big giant warehouse room.
Oh yeah, and all those computers just pumping out heat, so they got to keep it.
It's it's you would
and people.
You would think at like 3 a.m. it would be warm with all the computers going, but no, it's still freezing. This is the first year where I thought, what, I should probably bring some jeans. I mean, it might make those late night hours a little bit more comfortable.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
so. What games is it like one overall game that everyone plays, or is it
pretty much anything? It's a free for all? I mean, me and my friend, we were playing Minecraft, League of Legends, and there's just kind of a few other games here or there, but mostly we stuck to those 2 games. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's kind of funny when I think of it. When usually we go and it's still just like our group of 3 or 4 friends who still play. I mean, I guess it's just a nice change of scenery. It's always fun to go around and kind of goof off with some other people at the convention and stuff.
And do companies come and bring stuff? Like, is it like the bigger conventions? Is it kind of like that at all, where like bigger companies come in and bring like their new games and stuff? Like
a little bit. It's mostly like because ZeniMax owns id Software now, and they're the guys who own Bethesda.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So they'll bring out some of their new games and stuff. So like they had a big giant area, because how QuakeCon works is there's 2 big giant halls. You have one is the BYOC, which is all just people bringing their own computers and stuff. The other one's more of like a traditional expo hall for normal expos and stuff. Mm-hmm. So like in the back of the room they usually had like a big giant Bethesda booth, which has their newest game and stuff like that. I mean, I'm like, that's cool and all, but I'm like, eh.
Yeah.
But then they've got like smaller vendors and stuff like that. So they have like NVIDIA graphics cards and stuff. Who else was there? Just
it's like any like the big
parts manufacturers and stuff like that. Like they'll come and they'll have a booth.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll sell some stuff. Usually you just kind of go and you can talk to them about new stuff that's coming out for just new components and stuff like that.
So it's a big computer. It's focused more on computers than console.
It's mostly computers. Yeah, it's big time computer. I mean, you see a little bit of console stuff. I mean, and the BYOC, you'll see people that'll have like projectors set up and they'll be playing console games and stuff. But yeah, it is mostly a computer convention. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's something interesting they started to add this year was they actually blocked off part of the BYOC and had a tabletop gaming corner.
Oh, nice!
Which was actually something new this year. I mean, they'd never done that before.
Very nice. Did you get into that?
I didn't. No. When the few times I walked by, I looked. It was super crowded, and
yeah. Well, they know their audience. I mean, a lot of the big PC gamers are the people that will also do that kind of gaming too.
I mean, it's
nerd geek
from person to person. Yeah, that kind of varies. I mean, it's one of those things. I've never really gotten into it. I'd like to, because I tried it at couple months ago at ACOM with my first real sit down with a tabletop game, and I mean I enjoyed it.
Which game was it? Do you remember?
Oh geez.
What was it?
It was a zombie survivor horror type.
I think
tabletop game.
I've seen some games like
Reign of Dead, I think it was called, or something like that. But that was more of a guided tour. So I mean, it's one of those. If it wasn't quite the makeshift one, where I don't know, like if I had more regular time where I could, give a couple hours each week to go and join a group, I'd probably give it a shot for a little while just to kind of check it out. I mean, I've never had that opportunity, or I never really thought about trying it. But
yeah, in high school, me and my friends played Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was really fun. I mean, it's not really tabletop as far as there's like pieces and things you move. Well, it's more pen and paper and stuff.
That's still
tabletop exactly. It's same category. And as like one of the funnest times I've had playing. I mean, we're not doing it right now. We're maybe starting to do it, but I don't know. But that's fun. I've never been to any conventions. I went to an anime convention here, like one day. Just
Japan?
Yeah, I think it was. And it was, I mean, I'm not much into anime, so it was just, it was my friends were like, hey, we're going to go here. We have this extra pass. Do you want to go? I'm like, sure, whatever, that's fine. So I just walked around. I didn't know any of the things there.
Yeah.
People were dressed up. That was kind of funny. But,
yeah, anime conventions are different beasts compared to video game conventions because like I said earlier, the big one that I go to is ACON. That's also up in Dallas, oddly enough in the same hotel that QuakeCon is in, so they actually just moved there. I think last year was the first year they went. But yeah, those are completely different beasts. I mean, that's more of, you go to those more for panels to see voice actors, that kind of stuff. There's a lot more cosplay and stuff like that, which is the people, like you said, dressing up in the costumes and stuff like that. So I never got into that side of the convention. I was more going to some of the panels and just kind of hanging out with friends.
Yeah.
Because our big thing was we always loved the dealers' rooms because that's where all the they get a bunch of different vendors from just across the state, or even some people even come out of state, and they just set up a shop and you can find all sorts of crazy stuff instead of having to go on the internet and search for it for yourself. Like they all import it and stuff like that. And so that's usually where maybe drop about $100 on just random junk. I mean, I usually get a poster or something like that. But oddly enough, I go to an anime convention to buy video game merchandise. Oddly enough, I mean, I'm look at all my stuff. It's like I'm not too much into anime as I used to be. I mean, I still watch occasional episode of something here and there, but I kind of got into it at college back when I was at A&M. They had an anime club. And when I finally, that was when I kind of started to really get into it. Kind of learned that there was, it's interesting. There's a lot of different genres and stuff like that. I mean, it's a big diverse thing. I have friends that really are into it, and they're the ones that took me to that convention. But I never really got into it. I'm sure none of it's bad, but I always will play it up to my friends. Like, no, I don't. Oh no, there's some bad ones. It's like
anything.
Every other medium, there are some bad ones.
Yeah, definitely.
Just depends on your taste. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I mean, there's like futuristic sci-fi ones, and then I saw there's like more like a Western. I've seen Western ones, and there's I saw like a boxing one. So there's
probably Hajime no Ippo is probably the one. Fighting Spirit, maybe? Does that ring a bell?
No, I didn't watch it, but I saw them watching it.
Oh, okay.
And they were. I mean, it's funny because I'm sure. I mean, like anything, it's got its humor and. It's all different categories.
It's different culture stuff. I mean, once you start learning more of the culture, you'll start finding different gags funny. But I mean, that just comes with just watching different series and stuff. But yeah, for me, I mean, I'm primarily a video game nerd. I mean, video game and tech, just tablets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I kind of want to get more into programming, but mostly I just like using them for right now. I mean, big console gamer growing up. I mean, I first started with the Super Nintendo way back when I was 4 years old. Yeah, note to don't tell you have young kids. Don't get them started at 4 because they will never let it go.
No, do it.
It depends.
The best kind of people are gamers. So.
Well, I don't know. That's kind of you can argue.
Yeah, well, being kind of a gamer person. Yeah.
The internet says differently, but.
Yeah, or politics. Politicians.
They all say we're all a bunch of nutbags wanting to shoot everybody.
Yeah, violence. Do you subscribe to that at all as far as violent video games make people violent?
No, that's a case-by-case basis.
Yeah,
that's definitely, that's no. Because if it were true then there'd be more shootings all the time.
Yeah.
So I mean, then everybody who plays a game would
there's
go
just
crazy.
Some individuals are just crazy, or there's some imbalance or something in their head that makes them do that. And maybe video games for them did something, but it's not a like a universal thing.
Could be a trigger, but it's not. I don't think it's a cause.
No.
I mean, because trigger could be anything. Who says it was the video? I mean, yeah, they may have got the idea from a video game, but just switch that with a movie, and then does that mean all movies cause people to be more violent? I mean, it's not. I don't think it's a direct correlation.
I think it's an easy thing for them to blame it, because it's so universal, and some things are bad in it. Of course, there's different genres that are more violent or more bloody or gory, so they just latch onto that and use it as a scapegoat for other issues that it could be that are maybe harder. I
think it's more social stuff than it is video games. I mean, I don't know. I've never gone a shooting rampage, so I can't tell you from first person's perspective. I don't know. As far as I can, from my own personal views on video games, no, I definitely think it's case by case, just something else drove them nuts. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So you said growing up you were kind of console, but now you're more PC.
Kind of, I'm kind of stuck more in the middle. I mean, I usually tend to stick to PC more because I mean it's one of those because of QuakeCon actually, because that was 2010 was the first year we went, and I spent an entire summer, just the first half of the summer was just researching computer parts and sitting there going, okay, this is what I want to build a PC out of, and then I bought them midsummer, a couple weeks before QuakeCon, and then I put them together and
took that there.
Yeah, so surprisingly enough, the computer still survived today. I mean, 4 years later, which at the time when I built it, I was not expecting it to last 4 years and to actually kind of keep up. I mean, it's there's some parts where I'm starting to notice that it is starting to become a little bit obsolete, but I don't have enough justification to build a new one. I want to really badly, but I'm like I still have.
What you got works still.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like it works. I mean, it doesn't stop. I mean, I can't do like super crazy 3D editing and stuff like that, which I really don't want to do. But it's like it's like
yeah. Well, maybe in the future. Yeah, definitely. Growing up, I never really had any. I've good computers. I've just had like basic computers that could do basic stuff. So I was never into PC gaming as much. So I've always been more on the console side, and started I guess with PlayStation. Really was my console.
Okay.
My older brother had like a Super Nintendo, and Nintendo has, now that I think about it. And then he got a Genesis. He had those kind of consoles, but mine first was the PlayStation, PS1, and I played that a lot. And then it's just with every new generation, I just got the next one.
Yeah.
I haven't got the
4.
Yeah, the PS4, the Xbox One. I haven't got any of those yet. But right now I'm not really gaming as much.
You're becoming an adult. I mean, that's the same thing that I'm having. It's just like I spend most of my time at work, and it's just like
and like home is pretty much sleep.
So when you work our schedule,
and
that's sleep. That's about it.
So I recently just turned on my 360, and like it took like 15 minutes for it to do all its updates and all that stuff. And then I put in Skyrim because that was like the last game I played, and I was really into it. I'm a side quest kind of person, so I just spend a lot of my time doing every side quest there is, and then just wait forever to actually do the main storyline quest. So I got back into it, and it was just running slow. So I think I just need to, check out the dust or something. I don't know, whatever it could be, but it was just running slow. So I'm like, dang it. So then it was like froze, and I'm like, all right, back to Netflix or whatever I was doing. So. But I want to get back into gaming, man. It was just a really good time of my life to be gaming. So, and a lot of my friends still game, so I would like to reconnect that way too. So
there's a whole lot of choices out there now. I mean, it's like one of my friends said to one of our friends who's kind of starting to get into anime. He said, I guess you're blessed that you have so much that you haven't seen. I mean, it's always, it's an interesting thing because you look at it and you're like, there's so much to experience. Or it's like me. I mean, I still have a lot of games to play.
Yeah.
Like I look at my backlog and I go, oh, I just need to stop buying games because I never. Like my pile just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
I'll get to it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's like dang it.
That's the dangers of PC gaming and Steam, because when you look and you're like, I can buy 6 games for $20, you're like, why not? I'll play them eventually, and then 5 years later, you're like, I've never touched that game once. But you're like, at least it only costs $20 instead of $50, $60.
Yeah, 60 for one game. Yeah.
So I mean, if I stop buying games, I'd have games to last me like 2-3 years. So I mean, I have such a huge backlog.
Mm-hmm. So what games are you playing right now? What are your main? I mean, you played mine. You said you played
Minecraft a little bit. League of Legends. League of Legends. I kind of that's a game I have a love-hate relationship with. I mean, because there was a time where I got super addicted to that game, and once I finally took a step back, or once I finally got it out of my system, I took a step back. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I probably need to calm down on this game a little bit, because it was definitely, it's weird. I mean, you get sucked into it so much. You're like, I just gotta get that gold ranking. I'm like, I just want the free thing they give me at the end of the season. That's all I want. And you finally get it, and then you just kind of throw that on the keyboard and go, done. All right, I'm gonna go do something else now.
Yeah, my roommate, my friend, played League of Legends, and he'd be playing it all night. Like, I'd go to sleep and wake up, and he'd still be playing it. So, and like when I get home from work, he's playing it, and I just watch the game, and then like 40 minutes later, an hour later, however long the match lasted, he's like, oh, I lost that one. I'm like, oh, dang it. I don't know if I could play a game like that where I invest an hour of my time for a loss. But I mean, I guess it's experience or whatnot.
Well, it's it's against, it's 10 human players. So I mean, it's one of those. That's why, for me, it's one of those of, I don't necessarily mind losing.
If you played well.
Yeah, as long as I did halfway decent. Because what made me really stop playing League of Legends, like all the time, was the fact that, like when I was climbing through the ranked ladders and stuff like that, it was one of those of, if things were going good, the game was great. Mm-hmm. But the second something went wrong, everybody would start getting pissed off and start yelling at each other, like, you noob, you do this, and this, it's your fault, it's like, oh, it's the jungler's fault, they just start blaming everybody, and then just all of a sudden it's like, like, come on, guys, this isn't helping anybody, it's like, just calm down. Yeah. We're not nobody's making a living off of this. If you are, then I don't know why you're this low rank. I mean, if you're trying to make a living off of this, then you definitely, obviously aren't good enough to make a living off of this, so please stop.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just, people taking it too seriously. It's like, come on, we're all here to have fun. I mean, I know we're trying to climb, the ladders and stuff like that, but still,
it's a game, and literally it's entertainment.
One of those ideas that if you're good enough, eventually you'll climb and stuff like that. I mean, it's just like, just calm down. I know there's stuff that sucks about it, but just don't take it out on me. Just stop. Like whenever I'd start getting upset, I'd stop. I'd go watch some TV, watch some YouTube videos or something like that. I'd go away for about half an hour, and then I'd go back at it. Just find something to calm me down, and then come back at it. I mean, don't sit there and keep playing until you're just yelling at random people on the internet for no reason. Tell them to go slit their wrists and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
oh my gosh.
So I hate how people, I hate how people do that on the internet. It's like, why are you telling me to kill myself? It's like, come on, you don't have any idea who I am.
Yeah. The anonymity, the anonymous nature of being on the internet with no one else in the room. I don't know why it breeds like that kind of behavior, like the yelling and stuff. Well, never. It's
the idea of you don't know who they are, they don't know who you are. So and your amount of exposure to this person is so small that I guess the people who do it, they just think, well, it doesn't matter.
They don't need that filter, because they're like, why?
Yeah, it's like I'm more than likely not going to run into this guy ever again. I mean, there's millions and millions of players. What are the chances of me constantly running into it? But oddly enough, every once in a while it does actually happen. I mean, you do start seeing people over and over again. You just have to hope that it's like your experience with them was good, because if it wasn't, then it's like that immediately causes issues. Especially having somebody yell at you and then immediately going into the next game and guess what? That same guy's in the game again. I'm like, great.
Oh no. But League of Legends. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a good game, because I mean it's like one of the biggest like multiplayer games out there right now.
That's it depends. I mean, it's good games, sure. It's one of those of I quite frankly can't quite pin what makes it so popular. Mm-hmm. I got stuck on it. Mm-hmm. But also I was playing stuff like Dota, which was a predecessor to it before. Yeah. So I was playing this genre before League of Legends became big. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those of I had avoided playing League of Legends because I knew with my experience with Dota, if I started playing League of Legends, I knew I was going to get sucked into it. Mm-hmm. And of course my good friends, they're in Austin now. Of course, like back when they were at A&M, I went over and visited them, and they're like, all right, we're playing League of Legends today. I was like, oh, are you guys kidding me? I was like, all right. And then, of course, played that one day, and guess what? 2-3 years later, I'm still playing the stupid game.
Mm-hmm. I guess we should probably say what League of Legends is. It's a
MOBA.
Multiplayer online battle arena.
That's kind of Riot Games, the guys who made it. That's their own coined term. Because I guess MOBA is the closest thing to an official term for the game that they have. Because it kind of spawned from a genre called real-time strategy. Yeah. It was basically a mod of that. So, before they came up with MOBA, everybody was just calling it Dota genre. Because, that was Dota is Defense of the Ancients, which was just another... It was the kind of... Not necessarily the first of its genre, but the first one that really put the genre on the map. Because that was big with Warcraft 3, was the game that it was modded for it. It's interesting. Every once in a while, you get some pretty crazy games from modded games. Have you heard of Counter-Strike?
Yeah, and
that was modded off of Half-Life.
Oh wow!
So
and DayZ was.
DayZ is Arma 3, I think. Yeah, it is. Arma 2 or 3.
Yeah. It's crazy those mod people make ridiculous modifications to a game, and I'm like. God, that's so much work. I assume it's so much work.
If you know what you're doing, then it depends on how extravagant the mod. If it's just maybe like a texture change. As long as it's like me, I couldn't do a texture change because I know nothing about 3D mapping and animation, making sure it works with animation and stuff. I know nothing about it. But
there's people out there that.
Yeah, there's people that do that kind of stuff for a living. Because, that's part of the reason why I kind of slowly started going more over to PC gaming. It's because with console games, you can't mod the games. Yeah. Or it's like, you get, like you said, Skyrim earlier. You play Skyrim on the console game, whatever's on that disc, and maybe, a few DLC, that's it. Where it's like, I can go on the PC, I can do DLC, and then I can do user-created content.
Yeah, Skyrim mods are crazy. There's, you can YouTube it, there's, thousands of mods that you can put on those things, and some are good, visual stuff. You said you do a lot of visual stuff, but then there's actual game, changes of gameplay,
Thomas the Tank Engine dragons. They changed the dragons with Thomas the Tank Engine. So all of a sudden you just see this big giant train flying at you. And, I saw that in the video, and it's like, it looks cool. But I most when I was playing Skyrim, because unfortunately I lost my data when my solid state drive decided to crap out, so it's like, I gotta have to, that's 40 hours I gotta replay where I'm like,
I hate replaying games so bad.
I don't, if I replay it, I'm not going to do the same things that I did. I'll definitely go about it a different way.
Yeah, Skyrim, that's a possibility. But what Dragon Age is that?
Okay, Dragon Age.
Dragon Age. I played it as one character. I lost that thing, and I was like, okay, I'll just pick get a different character. But then it's the same storyline, so I never got back to where I was. Stopped playing it. So that's why I never played Dragon Age.
RPGs, those are different. Yeah, it depends because Skyrim's more of a bit free flowing, but some of the more scripted ones. I can understand how it'd be hard. So every once in a while, it's nice to go back, a year or two later after playing it and rewatch the story again, I guess.
Yeah, to get things you forgot, like rereading books.
Yeah,
the same kind of.
Because for me, I was really big into Japanese RPG games, which people were complaining some of the more recent Final Fantasies how they're all pretty linear, but when you look at it, a lot of those types of games in that genre are actually quite linear. They kind of do the facade of being open, but it's no, they're actually pretty straightforward. Once you play the game, you got the gist of what's going to happen. because one of my favorite games in that series is called Persona 4.
I've heard of it.
Because it was just a strange Japanese one where kind of, like you summon like Persona, there are just summons and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those, like your main character, he can pretty much like he can pick multiple Persona, where all the other characters only have like one that'll eventually upgrade through the story. Mm-hmm. But it's just just the characters in that game and just the story just intrigued me so much. Mm-hmm. Because the first two were like back on the PlayStation like a long time ago. I never really played them, but the third and fourth one were on the PlayStation 2. Mm-hmm. And I picked up the third one just kind of on a whim. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just fell in love with it, and it's the fourth one was just amazing. Because I'm really excited for the fifth one that's supposed to be coming out sometime next year on the PlayStation 3 of all things. I was hoping for PlayStation 4, but I'm like, well, at least they're making another one. So I'm like, oh, I have a PlayStation 3 as well. So it's like, great, all right, well, let's pick it up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's just it's an interesting, look at just kind of, Japanese culture and stuff like that. So when you look at it, and there's some weird things where it's like, unless you've really watched anime or played, more Japanese games, like there's some stuff you won't understand and stuff like that. But I mean, it's an interesting look. I highly recommend it. Persona.
And it's at 4, right?
3 and 4, yeah, they're most... Yeah, 4, because they made Persona 4 for the PlayStation 2, and then they updated it for the PlayStation Vita, which is actually, in my opinion, one of the correct ways to do a remake. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a very well done remake, and I loved it. Because, I mean, they're making a couple, they finally, because the parent company Atlas, it was going through a change of ownership, and so I think they finally kind of got out of that whole mess, and now they're starting to kind of pump out some more games, which I'm super excited for. I'm not going to go on about that. You can Google it or whatever.
We'll put a link in the description or something.
Yeah, we'll put something later.
The game that I was, as far as RPGs, like, I guess a more action RPG, like Mass Effect or even Fable. Those are like my two favorite game series. Like, have you played any of those?
I've played the first Mass Effect, and I have played Fable. I played 1. I don't think I ever finished it, but I did play a good chunk of it. And I played a little bit of 3, and I just couldn't get into it. Yeah,
it's a lot of my friends, as far as the Fable series, they didn't like it or understand my liking of it. But it's just you're as the character, and like depends on what choice you take, it changes your appearance and how people perceive you.
Yeah,
it's just a good game. The endings weren't always that good, but as far as it's really the game middle of the game that's the fun parts anyway. The ending is just sometimes even like on number 2 is like it's the worst ending ever. Like the boss fight is like
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to end the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 1 was really good. 2, I liked them all, and I played through them all, but the 1 was my favorite. They changed too much of it later on in the series. But those are my kind of role-playing games where, like, choice and stuff.
Yeah, I do play a little bit of that from time to time. Because, I never really got to MMOs. Really, the only one I played for a little while was, like, Guild Wars. I played that a little while. I played Guild Wars 2 for a little while. And I think really the only reason I got into that was because I had a friend who wanted to play it, and two of us would team up and we'd go just, explore the land or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just, for me, those types of games, they're just all giant fetch quests and stuff like that. Yeah. And then, like World of Warcraft, you're like, I want to do the, if I had to do something, I'd want to do like the big giant raids, but it's just like, you have to play the game for hundreds of hours to even get to that point, or now you can just buy characters at that level, which is like, I don't,
that's all, gosh.
You're like, it sounds awesome. That would totally save me a lot of time, but it's like, I don't know, that takes, part of the experience of the game out when you can, just pay, I think, like $20 or something like that, and you're like, oh great, now I have a level 80 or whatever character. It's like, I don't know, that's...
Oh yeah, I agree.
That seems to be, fortunately, that seems to be more of how games are starting to become, is buy pretty much, pay us more money to save you hours of playtime. It's like, wait, that's I'm supposed to play video games, not pay money to not play them. You know,
I mean, and like Pokemon, that was a big like grinding game for me. Like any of the Pokemon, like as far as the Game Boy portable games, that was I mean, and it was boring, and sometimes you're like, all right, I gotta level up this Pokemon, or I want to level up this Pokemon, so I'm going to go in this grass patch, just walk around in circles
for hours. Yep.
And it was boring, but I mean, you just did it because I mean that's you playing the game to you're doing something to accomplish the next thing. But yeah, paying. I would never do that. I mean, I've in like cheat codes like growing up. I mean, I assume not many games these days have cheat codes.
It's different. It's not so much they still have cheat codes. It's not this. It's not necessarily enter passcodes and stuff like that. Like nowadays, especially with computer games, like you have command prompts and stuff like that. So you can just do like command invulnerability or something like that. Like it may be a certain code depending on what game, but yeah, there's still cheat codes.
Yeah, I know like Sims. Like I used to use like the money whenever I was just playing around. I used the money thing where you can put like Rosebud and you get like $1,000 and you like semicolon and exclamation point a lot and you get a lot of money. So I mean cheat codes like that I would do sometimes, but it's really after I beat the game or I was just messing around, like on one of my save files, just messing around. But yeah, I used to like grinding in the games.
Yeah. For
what it did later on in the game.
Well, because for me, what I found is during those grinding moments, what I'll do is I'll put on like YouTube video or I'll watch a stream of something like that. So basically I'll just be, I won't even be paying attention to the screen, just going, hey, and I'm watching something else. Because I like to sit there, I'm one of, if I'm playing a game, I like to have my level 80 Pikachu one-hit killing everything. Because I don't know, for me, I'm just like, I like, I'm like, what? I'm supposed to be level 25 for this area? Yeah, I'd rather be like level 30, just so it's like, all right, That's just how I play. I'm one of, I'd rather spend the time, be super powerful than sitting there be constantly struggling.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, Pokemon. That's my experience too. Like just like even if like I have my Charizard or my fire Pokemon and they have like their water, I'm like you're like that's like a terrible matchup, but you're like I'm like triple the level of it, so who cares?
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Oh, not effective.
Whatever. Super effective. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. But yeah, Pokemon, I mean, that's a game I play off and on every once in a while. Not really the game, it's all emulators and stuff like that nowadays. And even then, I just lose interest too quickly now, and I just stop playing the game.
They're good, it's like, because have you played more of the recent ones, or are you talking like the old ones, like Game Boy Color?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Emerald was the last the actual one I played, actually where I had like the actual cartridge for the game, and then when I went back on the emulator, it was I think Red or something like that. Yeah. I'm more of a purist when it comes to Pokemon. Me and Patrick and you talked about it, but like first generation is my Pokemon. It's the one I grew up with.
Yeah.
And these newer ones, I mean, I'm sure they made awesome improvements on the game, visual and just more storylines and stuff.
Sure.
But I'm just not into it.
Yeah, it's one of those, for me, my favorites are probably the second generation. Mm-hmm. Because, I liked the first one. That was the first one that I played back in 96, 97, mm-hmm. whenever, because I lived overseas at the time. So mm-hmm. for me, I didn't get to play Pokemon until a while later because, oddly enough, I think we were in Japan at the time. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I never really went off the base, so I didn't quite understand, what's this, I didn't really get to see the Japanese version of it too much. Mm-hmm. And since we were overseas, we really didn't get it until way after everybody else in the States got it, because mm-hmm. it took a while for them to import it all the way over to the Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. So, for us, we got it late, but it's because, I remember back in elementary school, we used to have pen pals with people in the States, and they some of them sent us Pokemon cards. Mm-hmm. So I remember I had a Zapdos, mm-hmm. electric bird, for those of you guys who don't know, it's a big, mm-hmm. spiky electric bird looking thing. Mm-hmm. And I remember that was pretty cool. I was like, at the time, I was like, whoa, what is this? So, it's a shiny card with a cool looking bird thing on it. I'm like, oh man, what is this thing? And, but yeah, I've been, it's one of those, like around the third. I stopped playing after the second generation, and then I kind of, on a whim one day, we were going on a trip somewhere. I just kind of picked up the third generation. It's like, you know what? Why not? Mm-hmm. And then I mean, I've played at least one game out of every generation since then. It's actually changed quite a bit since back. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, they've added a lot of really cool ideas, and I'm kind of curious to see.
Where are they at right now? Is it X and Y or black and white?
X and Y
is the newest one.
Was the newest one, because that was the first one they finally decided to go full 3D graphics instead of kind of the weird hybrid 2D 3D. They're like, no, we're just gonna do everything 3D.
Nice. I haven't even really seen like gameplay videos of that, so I didn't have no idea what it looks like. I've heard of it, and I think I've seen like the covers of it, like the X and the Y Pokemon looking ones. But yeah, it'd be interesting to go back and look. But like I said, whenever they throw in like a weird Pokemon I don't know of, like in my mind I'm like, I hate this. Where's my Bulbasaur or Rattata?
Well, actually, what was pretty cool with X and Y was they actually didn't add in as many new monsters as they normally do.
Mm-hmm. You know how many they're at right now?
They're like 600 or something like that. They're at some ridiculous amount. Mm-hmm. But they actually did a pretty good selection out of all the generations. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it was one of those, if you got to see, a little bit more selection from everyone. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it was one of those, like me, where I'm like each specific generation, I have like one or two that I really like. Mm-hmm. And then when I get to X and Y, I was like, oh great, I can literally get all the ones that I really like. So I'm like, oh perfect. I'm like, oh great, I can make my perfect, through the ages team. Yeah.
Very nice.
So I mean, definitely, I thought they did a pretty good job with that. Mm-hmm. Because they're remaking Ruby and Sapphire are coming. That's coming out, I think, September or October or something like that. But that's coming out in a couple of months.
Mm-hmm. With like their new graphics and stuff.
It's going to be on the 3D from X and Y, and I'm not quite sure what other changes. I haven't really looked into it too much. I'm curious to see that. I'm undecided yet if I'm going to pick it up, but I probably will.
I mean, I have a 3DS, so. Maybe. I don't know. If I do plan on getting back into it, I'll probably just get the newest thing.
It's surprisingly, I have both a 3DS and a Vita, and I've actually found myself actually using the 3DS for actually playing games, and I've been using, like, the Vita was really good for watching like YouTube videos and stuff like that, because that OLED screen is just awesome. It's unfortunately it's small, but it's a very cool, a very good, nice looking screen. So I mean, it's a really cool piece of technology. Just unfortunately, Sony just didn't want to put the effort into making their own games for it. They wanted to strictly stick to third-party software, which is like, that's great, but they need to make games for it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I have friends that have the Vita. I mean, Juan and had the Vita. He'd bring it, and and watching him play it, I'm like, it's a good piece of hardware. So, but yeah, I was always more like the Game Boy stuff. I never ventured off that path. I had the Color, and then I didn't have the Advance. I had the DS, and then the 3DS now.
Okay.
And even the 3DS, I have like Scribble Knots on it.
Okay.
The Scribble Knots, like the trilogy or whatever it is, like the all-in-one game, and I think that's the only game I have for it. And I bought that the day I bought the thing, because I played Scribble Knots on like the first generation on whatever it was from my friends, and I liked it. It was a good puzzle playing game, and then I bought it with that. But that's the only game, so maybe I'll have to get Pokemon. I mean, that's the really only games I play on that.
I mean, there's actually quite a few games that are pretty good on it. I mean, like the new Zelda game, or the newer Zelda game that they made, that was kind of a quote-unquote sequel to A Link to the Past. That was really good. I was surprised. That game blew me away, because I was not expecting it to, they actually scratched the nostalgia feeling for us old guys, but also created like, they hit the nostalgia right, but they also updated the game in a way that made it, cool. I mean, it was still like they basically made that old game, but like in the present, and they added some really cool stuff. Like you didn't have to do the dungeons; you could do them in any order you wanted. Which in my mind I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool, because I'm like, it doesn't really change how the game ends or anything like that. But I thought that was pretty nifty. How it's like, okay, now you're not, you're not stuck doing the game the exact same way every time. But yeah, oh geez, I can't remember what in the world the subtitle was called. You know, Legend of Zelda, whatever. I can't remember what it was.
I've never played any. Only the Zelda game I played was the first, like on the Nintendo, the original Nintendo, the gold cartridge one.
The original one.
And I didn't even play that fully through. I remember going through.
I never really
screens.
I never really played the first one too much because for me it's one of those that's unless you know really what you're doing. I mean that game's really more about exploring and just kind of figuring it out. Which for me, I kind of like to be led hog a little bit.
Some type of.
I like to at least have at least an idea. Something kind of saying giant arrow saying you probably want to go that way. I mean just kind of check that way first and then because as long as I have an idea of where to go, like I'll start kind of wandering off and exploring other places. But I at least like to have that little arrow that says, eventually you just want to go this way, down this path or whatever.
Oh yeah. As far as so you started out with Super Nintendo.
Yep.
What games did you play on that? Do you remember? Like or like your one game?
Super Mario World was probably one of the games I played the most. Man, because when I think about it, geez, as a kid, my taste in games sucked. It's surprisingly one of the few games that I was surprised I bought as a kid was a Super Mario RPG.
I've heard of it, never.
That was an awesome game. It still is a great game. I mean, it's one of those. What that was SquareSoft, the guys who made Final Fantasy. They made basically an RPG with like Mario characters and stuff, and they had some original characters and stuff. And it was really cool because instead of just having your traditional attack or you just select your attacker magic and it attacks the guy, like they had more time-based stuff like that. So I mean, it's one of those certain jump attacks and stuff. If you timed it right, you do more jumps, that kind of stuff. Like they had some cool interactive stuff because that kind of became what is it, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga or something like that. There's there's a set of RPGs like that are on the handheld consoles now. That's kind of Super Mario RPG was the predecessor to those. That's kind of what led into those. Because as a kid, I missed stuff like Chrono Trigger. Like I kind of went back and played that when I got older because that's a great game.
It's on like the top 10 list of all the.
Definitely, I mean, because that was kind of the first game that had multiple endings and stuff like that, or at least as far as I remember, I can't think of any other ones that had or at least not as many multiple endings. I mean, that was just kind of you can kind of end the game whatever you want to in that series. So I mean, what else as a kid did I play? A couple of Star Wars games. Remember Aladdin on the Super Nintendo was actually a pretty solid game. I mean, for being a Disney tie-in. Movie game. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah, and let's see, Super Nintendo, like the Mario thing. Mario Paint?
Mario Paint.
I remember playing that. I didn't have it. My next door neighbor had it, and I'd go over there and play that. Like we do it's mini games essentially. And there's that music one. If you look online these days, there's people that do some pretty complicated songs on that.
Yep. Oh yeah, I've seen a few of those. Yeah.
So it's funny to look back and like you like what you used to make. There's like simple or not even like melodies at all, just random stuff.
Yep.
And then people doing like Bohemian Rhapsody and things like that.
I think I've seen that one. Yeah.
It's crazy, but Mario Paint I played a lot of on Super Nintendo. What was your next console after that? Do you remember? Or did you go Sega or
No, I never. I mean, I had the only
or Nintendo 64.
The only thing I went into Sega was I had a Game Gear. I only bought like 3 games for that, and that one just kind of died. I mean, I was more of a Nintendo person. Probably after that, I think I went N64. I mean, I like Game Boy and stuff like that, so I guess technically Game Boy would be after Super Nintendo. But then I did go into N64.
Probably like the GoldenEye and
played a lot of GoldenEye.
Mario 64. Just like
it's funny.
games.
I never actually owned Mario 64. I mean, because one of my favorite games for 64 was actually Star Fox 64. I loved that. I never actually owned the game. But I mean, let's see, because I had I think I had Super Smash Brothers, GoldenEye, that kind of stuff. What else? Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask for Legend of Zelda. I had those, played those to death. I can't think of what else I had. I mean, it's kind of a little bit of a hodgepodge of games. Like, I look back at that, and I'm like, okay, that's when my collection, I think, started getting a little bit better. Like, I had some of the classic games.
Yeah, ones you still hear about, let's see, so we'll just go through your whole history, and then, I never had a 64. My friends had it. So yeah, it was Super Nintendo, like I said, my brother's stuff, and then my first console was the PlayStation 1, and then it started from there, and then I pretty much had everything. I didn't have the GameCube?
Yeah.
Until recently, I bought one just to have one, because I went back just a year ago and just started buying some retro gaming things. So I have the Atari 2600 now, and the Nintendo right now, and then Sega, and then I'm gonna get the Sega, and just everything that I've ever wanted, I'm just gonna go back and get and just buy some of the major games for those systems and play through it. So yeah, I have the Atari 2600, so I was playing Pitfall and Adventure and things like that.
See, the only experience I had with super old consoles with, I think, a television, I think is what my dad had. Mm-hmm. And that's about it. I mean, I think we got it working once, and we played around with it for a little bit, but we never really messed with it too much.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just such an old system that it's
mm-hmm.
hit and miss. Because it's because last time, I haven't messed with my Super Nintendo in 7-8 years. I mean, I'm pretty sure we still have it somewhere.
Yeah.
I haven't touched it in a while, because I don't know where it's at anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, we moved houses since then, so I'm I have no idea where it's at anymore. Mm-hmm. But geez, systems that I owned growing up. It's definitely Super Nintendo, N64, pretty much one of every Game Boy, pretty much every single generation. I had a PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. Let's see, I had Xbox 360 was really the only Xbox that I had. Mm-hmm. I did have a GameCube. I bought a Wii, and then PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and then I have a computer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so
yeah,
pretty decent chunk of a little bit of everything. But
yeah, PlayStation 1. I Crash Bandicoot. Never played any of the Final Fantasy games from then, or really any. I played the first one because I got the the Nintendo, so I played that first one a little bit and got kind of far into it, but then just lost interest in it and played something else. Skyrim, I think, came out.
Some of the earlier ones I found kind of I went back years and years later and went and played back through the original ones, and they're kind of hard to get through.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're just super old school. For me, I didn't really grow up with that type of game. I did a little bit. I did a few odd ones here and there, but I never really got into them at a young age. Because I played more of the current ones, but I went back and played some of the older ones. They were a bit of a grind, a little bit hard to get through.
Yeah.
It's just go here, kill witch, go here, kill,
get key, go to the next,
go talk to a random person that you thought had no use before. You're this guy actually was the guy who you're supposed to give this random thing, and you're supposed to find 4 hours later and give it to them. You go, oh, okay.
Thanks
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, game, for not telling me that I was supposed to give this random thing to him. Mm-hmm. Because I played through a good chunk of the Final Fantasies.
I
spent many hours on those games.
Yeah.
They're kind of. I think they're kind of starting to lose or they're changing too much. I mean, they're not fantasy anymore. They're sci-fi. It's they're supposed to be Final Fantasy, not Final sci-fi. It's not. I don't know. I think it's just
they're changing the wrong things in the games, and
they're quote unquote trying to make them more Western, but it's you guys aren't Western. I'm not trying to be mean. You got don't try to make them for us. Just make your games for your market, and we'll buy them. We still like them anyway.
Yeah, we bought all your other games that you did that with. So.
Yeah, we would have bought the earlier ones. I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited for Final Fantasy 15 because that was supposed to be
15
versus 13. Basically, they took a game that's been in development, I don't know, for the last 4 years now, and they're just you know what, screw it. This is gonna be Final Fantasy 15 now. So I'm yes, just put the damn game out. That's all I want. I've been wanting it for a long time. Because I mean, it looked good. Because have you heard of the Kingdom Hearts series?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Like it's more like the way you play the game is similar to Kingdom Hearts as opposed to Final Fantasy, which I was like, oh, that looks awesome. More mature version of Kingdom Hearts. I mean, not the, Kingdom Hearts was actually, oddly enough, you're sitting there, you had Donald Duck and Goofy running around with you. I guess for those of you who don't know, Kingdom Hearts, that was a collaboration between Squaresoft, or I guess Square Enix at the time, and Disney, of all companies. And they basically made kind of this weird hodgepodge of an action RPG between like Final Fantasy characters and Disney characters.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
Mickey Mouse.
You'd have like Mickey Mouse, and you'd have to go help, like Simba and stuff like that. Like it was one of those games of at first I kind of was hesitant to get into it because I was like why is there Donald Duck and Goofy and stuff on that why are they in here? And I mean I just got it. It's a pretty solid game. I thought they were fun. The story is confusing as all hell, and unfortunately since like they had first and second one on the PlayStation 2, and now they've made a million other games that are kind of like mostly on portable devices. And I'm kind of worried that when they finally make the third one, that the plot's going to be incomprehensible unless you played all the handheld games.
Yeah.
The story was hard enough to follow in the first place. I mean, it's just like it's such a weird story. It's just like I mean, they're fun to play. I'm excited for the third one eventually coming out for the PlayStation 4. It's supposed to be coming out for the Xbox One, as far as I've heard, but who knows? I mean, I'm a little surprised. I was surprised when they said that they were thinking of putting it on the Xbox One. I wouldn't have thought. I guess they just want to, probably sell more copies. I guess I don't know.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. So as far as future gaming, what do you think is kind of? Do you think like Oculus and like VR is gonna take hold?
I thought so until it got bought by Facebook.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And then I kind of went. I just kind of lost. So I think I was one of a lot of the people who kind of lost interest in it because I'm like, I mean, if Facebook does it right and stays the hell out of it and just gives them money, then it might still be cool. Because I actually have played with the Oculus Rift before.
Oh, yeah.
I thought this was actually, I think, last year at QuakeCon even. One guy was going around with a little demo of it.
Oh, nice.
And because the demo that I played it was a little roller coaster ride. And it's one of those like I couldn't control the roller coaster or anything, but like I was able to look around and it was pretty cool because I mean it's one of those I'm surprised I didn't get sick when I was looking behind me as the roller coaster was going, but I guess since I wasn't feeling any motion or anything like that, I guess my body just didn't react to it.
Yeah.
Because I heard a lot of people were getting sick off of that thing because it's one of those if you see motion but you don't feel it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't surprised I didn't get sick, but it was pretty cool. I definitely think that more of the I guess more of the interactive stuff like that. I think they're starting to take steps in the right direction. And I kind of think the Oculus Rift is kind of the beginning of the future of games. I don't know if that's going to be, if that's really going to be what starts it, but I think they're on the right track. I see more of that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, because motion controlled stuff kind of start like the Wii and like and then you have like Kinect now.
The Wii was a good. They had an idea. It's one of those of an online critic kind of put it best, where where the Wii messed up was that instead of just doing multiple button pressing, it's now with multiple Wiimote waggling. It didn't change anything. You get a pointer and stuff like that, but it didn't immerse you as much as it should have. It could have. Yeah.
I never owned a Wii. My friends had one, and I used it at one point to watch Netflix. That's really all I did. I didn't play any games early on.
It's actually, funnily enough, I mean, the Wii is probably one of the few consoles that I regretted buying, but the adventure to buying it was probably one of my favorite adventures, because that was... I went... This was, 3-4 years ago? Several years ago, whenever, like a year after it came out, it was a Black Friday, and I had heard that a local EB Games at the time was getting one, or getting a couple of them, and so I decided to camp out overnight, just because I was like, why not? I'm like, I've got nothing better to do, so I'm like, all right, I wanted one at the time, because I thought it was going to be, I was like, oh, this thing sounds really cool. I thought it was going to be super awesome motion stuff. And so I was like, okay, I kind of bought into the hype a little bit. And so I camped out overnight, got out about 11 o'clock in the evening, and I was the second person in line. But what we ended up doing was it was me and basically a bunch of UTSA students, and one of them had brought a little TV and a GameCube. So we sat there. We were sitting outside of this EV Games. Just kind of people were getting in line. We're like, yeah, you're the fifth person, you're the sixth person. We're like, all right, now shut up, come down, play Super Smash Brothers Melee with us. So we're sitting outside, at 4 in the morning in the freezing cold playing Super Smash Brothers, and then after we got tired of that, we watched like Scrubs for like 4 hours waiting for the store to open. So that was definitely, I think, one of my nerdiest moments as a gamer. QuakeCon's pretty nerdy, but I think that probably takes the cake for probably the nerdiest thing I've ever done. It was fun. Sitting outside at 4 in the morning, playing video games. That's definitely.
No, that's pretty funny. No, and you got one, I assume.
Yep.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm not really a need to have it as soon as it comes out kind of person. I wait forever. Like I waited till like price drops like on consoles. Like I didn't get my 360 until like way late, probably like whenever like they're like starting talking about like the next generation.
Yeah,
because I'll get one now.
For me, it depends. Like for me, like. Normally, I'll wait a little bit, let them get the kinks out, because the only console I've ever made an exception for that was the PlayStation 4. Because for me, that was the first one that I could actually afford to buy day one, because the price actually wasn't ridiculously high. Because the PlayStation 3, when that first came out, that thing was ridiculous.
600 or something.
Yeah, it was like $600, $700, and it was just nuts.
Yeah.
Because really, I was hoping that the PlayStation 4 I was hoping for $350. Is what I was hoping. But when they said $400, I'm like, okay, that's not. All right, I'll buy it. I could have. I was able to afford it at the time, so I was like, all right, you know what? And when they announced it at E3, 2-3 years ago or whatever, I went ahead and put a pre-order on it. I went to the midnight release because at first I thought. I messed up the date, and I thought I was going to be on the weekend. I was working weekends then. Still, I'm still working weekends. But I thought I wasn't going to be able to pick it up at midnight, so I was kind of, a little sad. Like, it's the first console where I'm like, I could buy it and pick it up at midnight. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. But I was able to go pick that up. That was pretty eventless. It was just everybody's in the line. And they're like, all right, you got your receipt or whatever, and you just go and pick it up, and then you leave. So fortunately, there's just not too many games on it yet. So I've been using it pretty much as a streaming box and a Blu-ray player. Which it's very good for that. But you're like waiting for some games on this thing.
Yeah, that's what when I bought I bought a Sony TV, and the promotion was you get a PS3 with it.
Okay.
So and I don't have any games for it.
Really, PlayStation 3 has a lot of games. There's a lot of good games.
God of War, I know. Was a good game that I played on PS2, and then like God of War 3 came out, and that was only for PS3, so I finally have it, and but I never bought it. And I'm trying to think of any other games that I should have bought, but I never did. I used it as a Blu-ray player, and even then I didn't have many Blu-rays because I'm not into the. I just don't want the picture to be blurry. As long as it's not blurry, I'm fine with it. So I didn't really buy into the Blu-ray kind of thing. I'm fine with DVDs. I'm fine with streaming.
It's one of those of I thought I wasn't until then I got a couple of Blu-rays and I look at especially for usually what I find is stuff like animation and stuff like that. So like anime and stuff like that. Blu-ray versus DVD, huge difference. Because especially when you have bigger screen. You're like Blu-ray looks so much better. It's way crisper, cleaner. Colors are a lot better. It's definitely like for me, it's like it's hard for me to go back, and watch standard def stuff.
I bought like Dark Knight on Blu-ray, and it looks amazing, but I'm just not that kind of person that really cares. My last job was in a TV, like high-end TV thing, so I know like all the things that it can do, but I'm just not that kind of person. I'm fine with buying the $20 DVD instead of the $40 Blu-ray. That's back then. I don't know about these days what the prices are because I don't buy that.
It's a lot cheaper nowadays. Yeah,
they're probably comfortable.
It's just for me. It's one of those. I just got used to it, and then if I go back down, then it's one of those of I notice it. And it's like it looks grainy. I'm like, oh, and it burns me when I notice stuff like that. I'm like, oh, it burns inside.
Yeah, it takes away from it, definitely.
Yeah. But all right, I think we're gonna probably call it here. I think we've been going for quite a while.
Yeah, I think it's over an hour. Okay.
Over an hour. Oh man. Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah, probably we'll try to do more nerd talks later. I don't know. We'll see.
When Patrick's away, the nerds
will come out and play. I guess. I don't know.
But yeah, definitely. I enjoy this kind of stuff, and I think a little way. I think Patrick does too, but he doesn't want to admit to it.
Definitely not as much as us.
He's played Dungeons and Dragons, and he plays Pokemon. So
like at work.
Yeah.
Hey, here we see him.
Yeah, when he probably
in free time.
No, yeah. But yeah, definitely. We'll see. I liked it so. There's new stuff happening all the time. Like we didn't even really get into like nerdy like movies and.
There's a lot more stuff. We'll come up with something. And, we maybe do like a little side project or something like that. I don't know. We just gotta wait for scheduling situation here at work to get situated, and then I think we'll be able to put more effort into this. I mean, we'll have to see what happens.
Definitely.
Who knows?
Yeah, it should get better, and but yeah, until then we'll keep having our just normal episodes every Monday, and then maybe some extra content if we can get it.
If we can squeeze it in.
Yeah, it's hard, but yeah, that's a good episode. Do you want to end it? Just.
All right, guys. Talk to you later. This is Brandon. I don't know. Whatever. Foster, Fisher, whatever.
If you want to check out any of our older episodes or
find out any updates, thinkingoutsidethebox.com. Find all the links.
All right. There you guys.
Peace.